Hello, namaste. I'm Samantha, and today we're going to do some moves that are going to help you utilize your glutes. So one of your biggest muscle groups, the buns. And there's some positionings that we do throughout our day that makes it harder to access our glutes. So I'll teach you a way that you can align your body so you can get the most out of your buns. So we'll start in a kneeling position. And you can sit on a block or a cushion. And when you're in this kneeling position, think about your rib cage expanding all the way around from the back and the front and breathing sides. Breathing into the side ribs, get broader in the shoulders, get broader in the hips. Let your head lift away from your chest. Feel a floating aspect. Breathe in. Expand the ribs in all directions. Breathe out. Maintain that space. Set an intention for your ultimate expansion and access to your underutilized glutes. And breathe once more in through the nose. Exhale anything that no longer serves you. Blink open your eyes and float your heart so that you come to a high knee position. Notice I lifted my ankles up off the floor and press is to let the heels fall wide or have the knees go super wide. When the knees are really wide and the heels splay out, it's hard to utilize the buns. So bring those knees in, make them parallel with your feet, knees, hips, and then squeeze your heels in energetically. This will give you access to the glutes. So squeezing the heels in energetically, pressing the tops of the feet into the floor firmly, and letting your butt be the furthest part back on your torso. Float your arms to the level of the horizon, and then push your hands just as much as you're pushing your back, your butt, and your head back. So push forward with the hands, push everything else backward. And then start to do a little pulse here, pulse your hips back. It's kind of like you're doing a squat on your knees. Instead of pushing the hips forward when you come up, keep them back slightly. So we'll keep that crease in the groin here. That's how we're keeping the glutes. We're training them so that they actually do work. Good. Keep the hips in this position with the crease in the groin to bring the hands to the sides of the head, ecstasy arms. And we're going to crescent here. So keep the hips back. And then crescent arcing to the right. Avoid the tendency to fall forward with your torso and your head when you're arcing. Push your head and your torso back. Keep your buns back. They're further back than your ribs. And arc, letting that left side of the body open up. You may not arc that far, and that's okay. Exhale, come back to the center. Inhale, deeply expand and bow your heart forward. And exhale, crescent to the left. Keep your head back. Your head and your butt move towards each other, but you stay full in the rib cage so as not to collapse in the low back. And exhale, come back up through center. Good. Keep the arms at the level of the horizon. Push your hips to the left so you have room to step your right foot forward. My hips are still behind both of my knees, and this enables me to utilize the glutes as I come to a standing position. If the hips were forward and I came to a standing position, I would have to use my quad specifically to come on up. But I'm going to have my hips back so I can use the buns, a bigger muscle group, to come on up to standing. So come up to standing, keep the belly long, and that was my whole butt working as I came up. Stand in earth pose, and another way to utilize the glutes in earth pose, so earth is our regular standing pose. Keep your feet hip distance apart and make them like 11s. The tendency here for a lot of people is to make them more like a V, and they don't even know it. So you may be thinking that you're making an 11 with your feet, but you're really making a V. So look in a mirror when you do it to see. Another tendency, especially for gentlemen, is to have the knees go wide. All right? I'm going to have you push them energetically inward, and at the same time push them energetically outward, so it's an isometric hug of tone around the bone. All right, so this is what it looks like in the front. Body weight is in the front part of the feet. I'm springing, I'm bouncing to test that I'm not locked out. If I was locked out, there's no spring, and there's activation just in the fronts of the body. So the spring is giving me an activation in the back of the body. If you don't know if your posterior chain is activated, you can reach around and touch it, and it is, so we will continue. So body weight in the front part of the feet. There's a little bend behind the knee, like you're scooping out behind the knee. And there's a dig drag in the feet. You can test it to see if it's working. Good, and then we'll float underneath the armpits to make the shoulders nice and broad. Squeeze the palms to make the arms tone. And then we'll float the arms to the level of the horizon, clasp the hands in a Hercules clasp, and we're going to pick up the left foot. So dig it into the ground first, energetically drag it back, and then pick it up. So we do it that specifically so you make sure you're not just using your quad to pick it up, but the back of the leg too. So it's picked up, the ankle is flexed, that also helps us recruit the glutes. And then I'm going to step it back behind me in a lunge where I land the foot at an angle. So both feet are still facing forward, the back one is angled slightly. The front foot didn't move at all. And then getting in deep here. Another tendency here is to let this outer knee splay outward. What I've done here is I brought all the tone to the quads, which are overused, and the glutes aren't doing anything at all. So I'll narrow that knee in, literally narrow it in, and then energetically push it outward as if I were pushing them out into something. And you can feel your glutes fire when you do that. Stay big in the heart and the head, dig, drag to lift, and then step back to original position. Flip the hands, and then we'll go to the other side. So I'll dig the paw into the earth, energetically drag it back. So it's kind of like that, when a cat goes like that, it's that kind of feeling. You're turning on the back of the leg. So I'll drag, then pick up, and then I'll step back slowly, lead with your butt, and place the foot very nicely, like a ninja. Good, a couple pulses here. Notice I'm not straightening the front leg. I'm not straightening the back leg like in a regular Virabhadrasana warrior pose. Both of them are bent, and there's equal body weight in both. If I wanted to, I could hop, so it's a ready position. Fill in, inflate the ribs, inflate the lungs, dig, drag right, step back to the spot. Take a breath here. Slow your breath to slow your heart rate. And then we'll switch sides again, dig, drag to lift the left. This time I'm just going to step straight back in line, and I didn't go that far, all right? Maybe like a foot and a half. Slide the hands to the tops of the knees and push your knees forward into the hands. Push your sits bones back and wide. So a tendency here would be to step in line with the foot, and that will make it harder to equalize the hips. So step like you're on a railroad track. Push the knees forward into the hands, make the arms long and strong. And we'll do the Hercules hands again, and twist to the right. Keep the hips square and the groins deep. And again here, I could hop in this position. It's a ready position. Step back, forward. And then we'll go to the other side. Dig, drag to lift the right, step back on a railroad track, high lunge, slide the hands into the knees. Yeah, push the hips back and push the knees forward. Glutes are active. And then Hercules, clasp your hands, twist at the waist. Yeah, so twist with your ribs first. It's easier to twist with just the head, right? Twist with your ribs. Woo! That's a workout. It's the cool thing about Bowspring. It doesn't look like we're doing much, but dang it, this is hard. You can find a pulse. It's a waist whittler. Big drag lift the right, step back to the place, earth pose, and come to your center space. Sit to step wide, sit, step wide, slide your hands down to your knees, and then slide your hands to the mat. Come on back, and we'll come to all fours position. So all fours position is our regular floor pose on hands and knees. A tendency here is to have the knees too wide. I see this in gentlemen. They'll have their knees really wide and the feet narrow. From this ways, it looks like this. Knees wide, feet narrow. We really want them to be equal. With women, I see the opposite a lot. They put their knees together, almost to where they're touching. But we want somewhere at a happy medium. Okay, feet and heels in line with the knees. And I've got a trusty mirror in front of me that shows me, yes, I am in the form. All right, and so I'll squeeze my knees energetically inward, and then I'll push them for real outward without moving. It's an isometric hug around the bone, which widens my pelvic floor. Use the strength of your leg to open and widen your upper thigh bones. And then you can use that power in your legs to pull your hips back, and use the opposing power in your arms to stretch the ribs forward. And this in turn gives you a long, whittled waist. Who would want that? All right, tuck your toes under. Maintain this spinal alignment. The heart is really big, so rib cage is big. We've got that curvy alignment of the spine. Tuck your toes under, get a lot of foot on the floor, set yourself upright, and then push your legs back, knees come off the floor, crouching cat. All right, same thing goes here. Use your feet to press externally. Yeah, race car driving, power. Power in the glutes too. Really press your feet wide, and that turns your glutes on. The butt is working, the high butt is working, and that's what we want here. Some pulses here, and then we'll come back down. Come to your belly, and bring your forehead to your fist and take a little rest. Breathing width into your ribs, breathing width into your hips, and breathing fullness into your head space. Getting long in the waist, getting long in the neck. A gentle hug of tone around the bone in your arms and your legs. Good. Bring your right forearm in front of you, and then press your heart up. Bend both knees, flex your ankles, and push the knees into the floor so you have little pockets or holes under your hips. Reach back with your left hand and see if you can rotate the elbow outward. See what I'm doing there? Ooh, ooh, that gets your triceps going. And then reach back, grab your ankle. If you need to, you can have a friend help you grab your ankle. Ooh, yeah. If you come to my yoga class and you don't mind me touching you, I'll help you grab your ankle. Yeah, there you go. Resist. Push the knees down, both of them, and then switch sides. Left arm goes where the right arm goes. Push the knees down, get that hollow under the hips. Reach back, grab with the right hand. Rotate your right elbow wide. Why do we do that? It helps create space between the shoulder blades, and it helps turn on the tricep. Push the knees down. Oh my gosh, this is super hard, guys. Super hard. And then release. This time we're grabbing both ankles. This isn't like regular bow pose in regular yoga class. Elbows turn out. It's harder. Knees pressed down. Harder is relative. Breathe. Push knees down. Don't lift your head too high. And then release. Harder in that you'll sweat more. Easier in that more people can do it. If you don't know regular bow pose in regular yoga, I would just grab the feet and lift the knees off the floor, lift the heart up, and come into like a teardrop shape. Stretch one arm long on the floor and roll onto your back. Supine shift back to your center space. And then pressure your head into the floor so you got an inward curve behind the neck. Walk your feet towards your booty. Untuck your tailbone so your belly is nice and long, and there's an empty space between the floor and your low back. Heavy your pelvis. Make it really heavy, and point your pubic bone forward between the legs. Press the forefoot in the floor, so the paw, the front part of the foot, press it into the floor and energetically drag your heels back. You can feel the backs of your legs turn on. Reach your hand towards the sky like you're holding ropes, and really try to hold onto your ropes. Good. And now lift your butt off the floor just a little bit. And try to make your belly button higher than your pubic bone. So I'm not thrusting the hips up in an old-fashioned bridge. Oh no. We're doing much more here. I'm energetically pulling the heels back. I've got a high butt tone going on. Soften your pelvic floor. And then I'll swivel my toes and knees to the left. My heels go to the right. Staying deep in the groins. Keep the head pressure back. And then I'll swivel toes and knees to the right. Heels go to the left. Bobbing the hips. And you can swing both ways. Still getting a dig, drag, pull back with the heels to turn on the backs of your legs and glutes. There's more to the eye. More than meets the eye in the Bowspring. Bring your hands to dome hands over the head. Cross the right leg over the left. Pick up the hips and move them a couple inches to the right. And lower both knees to the left. Cross your left hand and bind the right knee. And let your right elbow stay pointing at the ceiling. Turn your chin so it's in line with your sternum, but press your ears back so your throat is open. Let your breath massage your internal organs, and let that uniform tone tickle your whole soul. Uncross the legs, cross the other leg over, which is the left. Bring your hands back to that dome hand. Pick up the hips, move them a couple inches to the left, and lower both knees to the right. Bind your right hand to your left knee. Let your left elbow point at the sky, and your chin is in the same line as your sternum, your breastbone. The tendency here is to turn it the other way, or turn it towards the sky. You can lift it up though. Yeah, now your ribs have space. Space to expand, space to grow. One more inhale. And then exhale, slide your right arm overhead. And slide yourself up, letting your ribs lead the way, coming up into a sitting position. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this practice and you are able to really feel the backs of your legs, maybe for the first time. If you have any questions about how to turn on your posterior chain, or maybe you didn't feel the backs of your legs, send me a message. I'm always here to help. Thank you, and namaste.